name is Veronica and I'll be refuting the speech that concealed carry prevents crime within cities. The advocate's secondary points are: 1, criminals are less likely to assault, harass, or harm individuals that may possess a weapon, and 2, concealed carry allows people to protect themselves when police officers aren't there. So the advocate started off with the definition of concealed carry, which allows citizens to carry a gun as long as it's out of sight. Although the advocate makes some valid points regarding concealed carry, the truth is the evidence isn't very sound. On the advocate's first point, he mentions the statistic that states concealed carry reduces crime, reduces murder by 8%, rape by 5%, assault by 7%, and robbery by 3%. Now, this is a study done by John Lott, a big advocate for concealed carry. Although this article was published fairly recently in 2011, the study was conducted using county data from 1977 to 1992. That is, this data is completely dated and older than many people here and isn't very relevant in today's society. Additionally, Stephen Terry, director of the Center for Law and the Public Health, states the study used incorrect and discredited methodology. The results of any study are influenced by the type of statistical techniques used by the researcher. The techniques used in Lott's analysis have been determined by criminologists to be inappropriate for this type of study. In this main point, the advocate also discussed a Washington Post article which claims that there is a correlation between a drop in crime rate in Illinois and concealed carry permits increasing. Although there can be a potential correlation, the fact of the matter is Illinois, as well as the rest of the United States, has seen a drop in crime rates well before the article claims that concealed carry. So it's kind of been a trend that's been happening for a while. And they've been pretty much decreasing since 1993, well before this article claims that concealed carry was the cause between 2013 and 2014. According to the Federal Bureau of Justice statistics, firearm crimes have decreased nationwide from 1993 onward and has been decreasing at a rate of 39%. The advocate also discusses a hypothetical situation in which you're like walking down the street and potentially there can be someone that comes and mugs you, and if you have a concealed weapon, then you'll be more likely to fend them off. I can propose a similar hypothetical situation in which you accidentally drop the gun and shoot yourself in the foot. There is no real basis or sounds for it. And there are also I like to pose a counterclaim that there's also other effective ways you can protect yourself in certain situations without having to go through the traumatic experience of trying to shoot someone. There are things like tasers, pepper spray, and learning like a self-defense class that could really help you in certain situations instead of having to go through, like I said, the mental instability of just realizing that you shot someone. And then the advocate ends with a story about a guy who had a concealed carry gun and was able to defend himself. However, there are also several stories of people who have a concealed weapon and went on killing rampages. I do have an example. My first example is the Genova County Massacre, in which a man by Michael McLeodon shot and killed 10 people in 2009, and he did have a concealed carry handgun permit for 2 handguns. There's also a second example of the Hartford distributor shooting, in which Omar S. Thornton killed 8 people after getting fired from his job, and he had a concealed carry handgun permit as well. And the third and final example is Birmingham shooting, where Jeffrey Wong killed 13 former classmates in Bloomington, New York, and he also had a handgun permit. So there are just examples. There's obviously both sides to every story. However, as you can see, that there is no real direct correlation between the crime rates and concealed carry handgun. Thank you.
All right, the main proposition, the secondary issues are labeled pretty well. I don't know why we're going on the definition issue. You can probably just summarize that quickly and move on. Generally, your challenge is to the evidence that the advocate is that the advocate's using, and I think you do a good job in responding to that particular argument. You cite the source that the advocate used, the study that I assume that it's the same study that the advocate used. There might be a clearer explanation that is in fact the data that's being used. Your first challenge on that is that the data is old because it's based on data from 77 to 92, which is older than most of us in here. Unfortunately, I have to agree that's most of you in here. But the fact that it's old doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't apply if there is, appropriate statistical application of that research. Unless something had changed dramatically, I'm not sure why that would automatically discount it. Your second argument on this point, I think, is the stronger argument, which says that there are methodological problems to the study, and you've got somebody who is giving us a challenge to this. Now, here's the thing that I think is a little bit problematic, and if this was a longer argument and we were having a debate on this, this would be where there should be some discussion, because the general challenge says, well, a lot of criminologists have looked at this and said that it doesn't work. But we don't know why. We don't know who those criminologists are. John Lott's, published his book. It's the articles he's published have been reviewed in professional journals too, and so before they were published, the methodology was evaluated. We need to look at the criticisms here, but we don't get the specific criticism. We just have this general kind of what you call like a poisoning the well attack. Criminologists say you can't rely on his methodology without telling us what's wrong with the methodology and allowing us to have a discussion about those particular issues, whether or not that's believable or not. So I think that's a little bit of a problem, but at least you've made an argument on that issue. So there's nothing wrong with making the argument, like I said, but it's kind of a surface argument and some depth. If we were having a debate, we'd have to go into that a little bit more. The challenge on the Illinois example is okay. I think that you look, in this particular situation, you explain why you can't use this example, because we've got general crime rates going down everywhere in Illinois, but also in other places. So what's so unique about Illinois? The attribution of a change in crime because of a change in the laws is completely coincidental. This is a simple cause-effect argument about correlation. And I think you make a good argument there. And you back that up with the Bureau of Justice data. The hypotheticals are okay. I think, the advocate also presents a practical example, and then you present practical examples that demonstrate the other direction. I don't know that when you talk about the other methods of self-defense, that's okay, although, again, the question might come up about how practical they are, how effective they are. Do we have any data? For example, if the advocate was responding to this, they say, well, is there any data that says tasers, pepper spray, or learning karate is as effective as sticking a gun in somebody's face and saying stop? As soon as we see some data that says that works better, then maybe those will be the better alternatives, but we don't have any data like that. So I think it's a good press at this point, but it's, like I said, in a longer argument, there might be a little bit of an issue there. And then you basically come up with counter-examples at the end to respond to the examples that the advocate presented. So basically the examples are going to be a wash, and so it's going to come back down to that statistical argument that was made earlier. All right, thank you.